Ishikawa travels through the world of tennis princes and becomes a new member of the Ice Emperor Academy. Thinking of the fierce tactics in the later stages, comparable to the mystical murder tennis, he felt immense pressure. Fortunately, the tennis mini-game launched before the time travel was successfully loaded, and Ishikawa became the only player in this world. Gain experience through daily tasks and victories in competitions, upgrade character reward skill points and 5-dimensional attributes. Brushing character likes can earn players skill instruction. Secondary professions provide additional talents. At the beginning, you have reached the full level of Kendo and possess a level of Kendo that surpasses that of Shinichiro Makita. Facing boss-level characters such as Phoenix and Poke with outrageous levels and marked as red names, Ishikawa said that he has reached the full level of nearly 10 sub-professions, basic skills, and advanced skills. As long as the level is displayed, even the legendary tennis player can be defeated by me. Keywords of the novel. Man in the King of the Internet, I have tennis games without pop-ups. Man in the King of the Internet, I have the complete download of Tennis Games TXT. Man in the King of the Internet, I have the latest chapters of tennis games to read. Chapter 1. Man in the Ice Emperor, Full Level Kendo at the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Man in the Ice Emperor, Full Level Kendo at the beginning. April. Spring is warm and flowers are blooming. Tokyo Metropolis, Ice Emperor Academy. Sakura blossoms are dancing in the campus, and the branches are light green, full of vitality. On the first day of school. Young boys and girls wearing school uniforms are playful, or there are new students who have just started school, or they are confused or nervous, observing the environment on campus. Ishikawa is one of them. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon. School club activity time. In the Ice Emperor tennis department, a handsome young man wearing a new uniform looked at everything in front of him with a bewildered expression. Have I traveled? Ishikawa is confused. At the moment before, I was still sitting in front of the computer, randomly analyzing the attributes and characteristics of the characters. After he finally selects the character, creates a satisfactory image, and clicks on the OK option. In front of me, it was dark. I opened my eyes again and arrived at this place. At this point. In front of him was a spacious venue. There are seats on all sides, like a sports stadium used for large-scale events in a past life. Actually, Ishikawa just digested some of the information in his mind, indicating that this is indeed a special competition venue. More precisely, it's the tennis department of Ice Emperor. That's right. It's the Ice Emperor Academy with the most powerful money-making ability in the anime Tennis Prince. And he is a newcomer who has just joined the tennis department. I didn't expect that game to be real. Ishikawa's heart is complex. Originally, before his time traveling, he accidentally downloaded role-playing single-player game called Wang Wang. After the game starts, it is about pinching faces, naming, identity setting, and random ability extraction. It took Ishikawa about 2 hours to complete all the steps. As a character in the world of Internet Kings, one's appearance cannot be low. As for identity, by chance, he was selected with a special attribute, but at the same time, he was also a genius young man whose parents died early and entered the middle school of the Ice Emperor through his own talent and father's relationship during his lifetime. If that game is real. Think of games. Ishikawa had a thought in his heart. A virtual property panel appeared in front of him. Name: Shin Ishikawa, age 12 years old, identity. First year of junior high school in Ice Emperor Academy, main profession. Tennis LV 0, 0 out of 10, sub-profession. Chess LV 6, 5 dimensions. Speed 1, Force 1, Body 1, Skill 1, Essence 3, Total 7, Skill. None, Ability. None, remaining deputy position points. 0, remaining skill points. 0. Prop. None. Evaluation. A newcomer who is completely clueless about tennis, but has extraordinary talent, is it only 7 o'clock? Looking at his own data, Ishikawa frowned. Those who have seen the Internet King know that in the late game, even the serve of a third-rate player may not be able to catch at 7.05. But immediately, Ishikawa saw the system's annotations again. The 5-dimensional standard value for a normal 15-year-old male is 1. And the 5-dimensional value is only applicable to tennis. Is it a standard value? Upon seeing this, Ishikawa nodded thoughtfully. Since it is the standard value, it can be explained. Moreover, from the description of this information, it can be seen that this is indeed a system specifically bound to tennis. However, the total 5 dimensions of 7 points are still too low. According to the current timeline, it may be difficult for him to play in regional competitions, let alone in major competitions. Ding, and at this point, he suddenly heard a system prompt sound in his mind. A system malfunction has been detected, causing abnormalities in the player server. A compensation package has been sent, please check it. Upon seeing this, Ishikawa's spirit was uplifted. He immediately opened his panel and indeed saw a clear exclamation mark in the upper left corner of the character's avatar. After clicking on it, you will see a prop with the words, compensation package, written on it. Ishikawa immediately chose to open it. Ding, congratulations to the player for obtaining the item. Sub-profession. Swordsmanship, max. Sub-profession, Kendo, max. After use, you can obtain a full-level sub-profession, Kendo. No hesitation. Ishikawa immediately chose to use it. Boom. Moment an indescribable force poured into him, and Ishikawa seemed to be soaking in a hot spring, warm all over, with a feeling of endless strength. At the same time, a large amount of knowledge about Kendo is constantly integrated into his mind, and then instantly decomposed, digested, and absorbed. In an instant, Ishikawa has transformed from a person who was originally ignorant of swordsmanship to a top expert in swordsmanship. Schwa. When you open your eyes again, a wisp of brilliance suddenly shot out of Ishikawa's eyes, and his temperament changed from being gentle and refined to displaying sharpness. But immediately, this sharpness was restrained by him, and the whole person still looked the same, even more ordinary. At the same time, Ishikawa also keenly noticed that in addition to changes in deputy positions, his 5-dimensional attributes suddenly increased by 3 points on his panel. 5 dimensions. Speed 1, Force 2, Body 1, Skill 3, Essence 3, Total 10, Y. Ishikawa immediately searched for the cause of the problem change. Soon, his attention fell on the specific description of the secondary profession. Chess path. Sub-profession, increases spiritual power by 1 point every 3 levels. Additional ability 1. For each level increase, enhance the development effect of certain brain domains. Additional ability 2. Unknown, enabled at full level, current level. LV6, Kendo. Sub-profession, increases strength by 1 point at level 3, skill by 1 point at level 6, and skill by 1 point at level 9. Additional ability 1. Increase swing speed by 50%. Additional ability 2. Increases the power of slashing skills by 50%. Current level. LV9, full level, so, the way to become stronger is to constantly increase the number and level of your secondary professions. Not right. There should be other ways. Ishikawa's heart moved. Quickly searching for information about the character's attributes, he quickly found information about the character's main profession level improvement. Players can gain experience and upgrade their main profession level by completing tasks and competitions. Current version, main profession reaches level 100, that is to say. Looking at the description on the system interface, Ishikawa was stunned for a second and said, is this really a leveling tennis game? So, Ice Emperor is the birthplace and beginner zone. A thought flashed. When Ishikawa looked around at the players from the Ice Emperor tennis department, he suddenly noticed that there were extra numbers above their heads indicating their level. If we look at the current situation as a single player or online game, everything seems to suddenly become clear. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ice Emperor also wants to pick up balls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Ice Emperor also wants to pick up balls. Ice Emperor equals novice zone. Ice Emperor's team members equals NPC. Beyond the Ice Emperor equals wild zone. Tennis players outside of Ice Emperor, also known as wild monsters. My thoughts changed. Ishikawa's gaze fell on one of the tennis courts not far away. Mitsuro Shohara. LV18, Suzuki Ryota. LV17, is this their level? At this moment, Ishikawa suddenly regarded the two as NPCs in the game. Thinking so, he walked to the backcourt of the match between the two and silently observed their game. Let's see how strong a tennis player who is close to level 20 is. Not far away. Several stadiums are idle, and in one of them, matches are also taking place. However, compared to the densely populated areas in other places, there are not many people in this area. Obviously, this is the area where the selected members of the Ice Emperor tennis department are located. Bang! Bang! At this moment, on the court, a boy with long brown hair is launching an attack. The fierce gameplay defeated the young man with silver gray hair on the opposite side step by step. Chotaro. Seeing his opponent being cornered by himself, the brown-haired boy laughed heartily and said, "Your basic skills are still a bit far behind." The words fell. He leaped up and raised his racket high, aiming at the tennis ball with a sharp dunk. Bang! A loud bang. The tennis ball hit the silver-haired boy's feet like a bullet, but he could only watch the ball fly out and do nothing. The competition is over. On the sidelines of the court, the referee sitting on a high chair spoke up, "Shigeru Ryu won, the score is 6.3. Who? Slash and land." The boy with long hair, also known as the Ice Emperor tennis department, comfortably stretched out his waist as a third-grade junior high school player. Then, smiling, he walked forward and patted his shy opponent, Fong Changtaro, who was also a second-year player selected by the Ice Emperor tennis department, on the shoulder with his racket. "Changtaro, your serve is indeed good, but if you leave the serve, your strength can at most reach the level of a major tournament. Practice your basic skills more, next year's Ice Emperor will rely entirely on you. Say it." Shirhu whistled and turned around before leaving. Leaving Fong Changtaro standing in place, looking at the other person's back, his gaze gradually became firm. Cut. Seeing this scene, a young man with wine-red hair and bangs said coldly outside the stadium, "Shirhu, this guy knows how to preach to Changtaro." When speaking, he placed his hands on his neck and stretched his body, looking disdainful. Xian Ryuren. Ice Emperor tennis department's third-grade selected players. You can't say that either. On the side, a blue-black boy with long hair wearing glasses shook his head and said, "In the current generation of Chotaro and his team, only he and Huati are the main candidates. You know Huati, and he can't become a minister. Next year's Ice Emperor, if nothing unexpected happens, should be led by Changtaro." In this situation, giving Changtaro more pressure is not a bad thing. The speaker, also a third-grade regular in the Ice Emperor tennis department, is Yuzushi Ninzu. Is it a minister? Xiangri raised his eyebrows slightly, then nodded and said, "That's indeed the case. The current Ice Emperor." At the Tokyo Metropolitan competition, there were no opponents left. Everyone, including Minister Ashikaga, has set their sights on the Kanto and national competitions. For them, getting a ticket to the national competition is very simple. But the question is, what about the next edition? After these people graduate, if Ice Emperor doesn't have a strong enough minister as a leader, can he still enter the national competition? If that's the case, thinking of this, Xiangri looked up at the newcomers arranged outside the stadium to pick up the ball and shook his head, saying, "It seems like there aren't many outstanding newcomers this year." "This is indeed the case," the patient replied with a slight headache. He is responsible for this year's recruitment. But he did not notice any team members with outstanding talents. However, for their current generation, it doesn't have much impact either. After all, in the eyes of Renzu, even the most powerful newcomer cannot change the huge gap between Ice Emperor and Li Haida. As for what to say in the future, it's not something he can decide. Bang! Bang! At the end of the competition between Shihu and Feng. On the other side. The stadium where Ishikawa is located. At this moment, he is observing the match between these two Ice Emperor players. In his past life, he was just a novice who knew the rules of tennis and had no practical experience. However, during these few minutes of observation, Ishikawa realized that there was nothing special about the match between these two people. Just simple movements, positioning, swinging to catch the ball. Even he could predict in advance the direction of these two people's shots and their next movement positions. But upon closer examination, it's not surprising. His spiritual strength, after all, has reached a level of 3 points. According to the original work Neon U17, the standard for tactical reinforcement coach Kurobe has already reached the average passing line for junior high school students. You should know. Even after undergoing the intensive training described as a hell after U17 House Han, Tao Cheng, Haitang, and the Wave Speed Star Ninja Zuqian of the Four Heavenly Treasure Temple are only 3 points. And at this moment, it's just the beginning of the storyline, the second day of new student enrollment. The mental strength at 3 points has surpassed the vast majority of middle school students in the original work. Not to mention it. The characters in these two original works before me are not even considered as passers-by armor. Bang! But at this moment, the person named Mitsuro Shohara hit the tennis ball too hard and hit it out of the court. Coincidentally, it landed at the foot of Ishikawa. Hello. Subsequently, as expected, a casual voice with command sounded, "That guy over there, the one with black hair, pick up the tennis ball for me." Pick up the ball. Ishikawa was clearly stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that the plot he usually saw in fan fiction would actually happen to him. What puzzled him even more was that besides places like Qingxue, the newcomers of Ice Emperor also had to pick up balls. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Amazing Ball. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Amazing Ball in Anime. The most criticized aspect of youth education is the rule of picking up balls. Many people, including Ishikawa himself, after watching the anime, attribute the reason why there were no results in the first 2 years of junior high school to the new rules of the tennis department. For example, Tezuka. When the original work first entered junior high school, its hard power was definitely able to sweep through the youth academy, but it was not enough for the department head to read. But even so, they didn't receive any special treatment. Bu-er only became a regular candidate in the second year of junior high school. Therefore, there is also a theory that Bu-er's achievements could have been higher, but they were delayed in youth education. However, judging from the posture in front of me, the situation seems to be different from what Ishikawa had in mind. It seems that the Ice Emperor cannot avoid vulgarity. Hello. While Ishikawa was pondering, the junior high school student named Mitsuro Shinawara's face darkened a bit and his tone became sharper, saying, "Little ghost, I called you, didn't I hear you?" Ha! The movement here quickly attracted the attention of others. Isn't that Xiaoyuan? If I remember correctly, he performed well last week and qualified for the practice match, right? Judging from the situation, I asked the little ghost to pick up the ball, but he ignored him. Ha! Is this kid really fake? He got into a fight with his seniors right after joining the department. This guy is going to be unlucky. Xiao Yuan is notorious for his temper, and he even repaired several first-grade ones at the end of school. TSK, poor guy. However, newcomers need to have the consciousness of newcomers. Isn't it good to obediently follow the orders of seniors? It's really miserable now. A group of second and third grade, junior high school, players stood outside the stadium, discussing. Upon hearing their words, the new recruits around them immediately became nervous and cramped. At the same time, looking at Ishikawa, there was also a hint of sympathy. But it also stopped here. At this moment, no one dared to stand up and help him speak. More people are watching the excitement. Many people have even thought that this newcomer in front of them is likely to be taught a lesson. Pick up the ball. Upon hearing Xiao Yuan's words, Ishikawa smiled. He never expected that such a thing would happen to him. Looking at the scene in front of him, he was not surprised and was meant to be taught a lesson as a model. Unfortunately, he is not a soft persimmon. The original 7 o'clock 5-dimensional is not enough to watch in U17 or major competitions, but here it is only within the Ice Emperor, and the opponent is only a character from the passerby armor. Not to mention, he also obtained a full level of swordsmanship, not only adding 3.5 dimensions, but also gaining additional top-level talents. Originally, Ishikawa wanted to quietly develop, but now it seems that the situation no longer allows. Since that's the case, my thoughts changed. Under the gaze of everyone, Ishikawa bent down to pick up the ball. In the eyes of others, it seems that they were frightened by Sanlang Xiao Yuan's words. However, surprisingly, after picking up the ball, he casually picked up one of the rackets placed diagonally against the wire mesh, and then slowly looked up to look at Xiao Yuan across from him. What is the situation? See the situation. Everyone was taken aback. But soon someone reacted and said, "This guy, isn't he planning to hit the ball over? Is he crazy? This fool, doesn't he know that this will only further anger Xiao Yuan? If something goes wrong, we need to quickly call Jingxian over." Ishikawa's behavior caused a stir in the crowd. Someone shook their head secretly, thinking he was too naive. Some people watched coldly, feeling that this newcomer was completely clueless. But some people felt that the situation was not good and quickly ran to find the right candidate. All of this was seen by Ishikawa, but he didn't care at all. He turned his gaze and looked at Xiao Yuan, saying, "Senior, your ball." "Who? Say it." He threw the tennis ball under the surprised gaze of others. "Is he really here? Interestingly, it's been a long time since I saw such a brave newcomer. Unfortunately, this idiot has offended Xiao Yuan. There will be a good show to watch later." For a while, the chaotic voices of discussion echoed again on the field. And seeing everything in his eyes, Mitsuro Shohara's face was so gloomy that it almost dripped water. This newcomer is really too arrogant. What made him even more intolerable was that the other party dared to disobey him in front of so many people. How can he continue to live in the Ice Emperor without harshly teaching this first-grade student a lesson? Schwa. And at this moment, Ishikawa has moved. He quickly swung his racket, flipping it over his head while leaning forward, and the racket hit the tennis ball fiercely. Bang! A crisp sound. Under the incredulous gaze of the crowd, the tennis ball seemed like an arrow that flew past and blocked the net in the blink of an eye. The speed is so fast that no one can observe the specific trajectory. As for Xiao Yuan, as soon as he heard the sound of hitting the ball, a light yellow dot quickly enlarged in his eyes. In an instant, the yellow dot turned into a half-fist-sized tennis ball. How could it be? Xiao Yuan's pupils contracted sharply. Too fast. How could the speed of this serve be so fast? But before he could react, the tennis ball had already passed by his cheek. The strong wind generated by the high-speed flight howled and made his face tingle slightly. With a clang, the tennis ball hits the wire mesh and is tightly embedded inside. In an instant, a huge stadium, trapped in an eerie silence. The team members who were originally planning to watch the play were also looking at Ishikawa like ghosts at this moment. Did the serve just now really come from a newcomer who just joined the tennis department? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Newcomer Guidance Tasks. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Newcomer Guidance Tasks. Unbelievable. No one expected that the newcomer in front of them could play such an amazing serve. Subsequently, everyone's gaze fell on Xiaoyuan again. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes, and he looked like he was watching a good show. Damn it. At this moment, Xiaoyuan also reacted and felt the strange gazes from everyone. His face immediately turned red with anger and embarrassment. Lift your head. Xiaoyuan stared fixedly at Ishikawa across from him, his eyes seeming to be blazing fire. It's this guy who caused him to lose face in front of so many people. I absolutely can't let him go. Otherwise, how could he continue to survive in the Ice Emperor? Little devil, you are too arrogant. Xiaoyuan's voice was cold, and he clenched his racket as he strode towards the direction where Ishikawa was. I must let you know what the consequences of provoking seniors are. Upon hearing this, the faces of the newcomers around changed, and their gaze towards Xiaoyuan was full of fear. This is the third grade of Ice Emperor. Strong hegemony. It's not something that newcomers can provoke. As for the newcomers facing each other, it can only be said that they are too unlucky. I used to have a good serving technique, but if I provoke my seniors, I will definitely be taught a lesson. Looking at the other senior students, they all looked like they saw nothing strange. Many of them looked at Ishikawa with a hint of mockery. What about some skills? This is the Ice Emperor, a top team that has made it to the national competition for over 6 consecutive years and has repeatedly defended the championship title in Tokyo. In terms of scale, the Ice Emperor tennis team, with over 200 players, can be said to be superior to other teams in the country. But having more people means more competition. Many of them don't even qualify for practice matches. For Ishikawa, who has a good talent and may join the second team in the future, or even become a regular newcomer, naturally harbors hostility. Therefore, seeing that Xiaoyuan was going to teach Ishikawa a lesson, they almost all looked happy to see it. Many people were even staring closely at Ishikawa, hoping to see the other party's frightened and panicked appearance under the pressure of Shinawara Saburo. But disappointed them. Facing the fierce Xiaoyuan, Ishikawa remained calm. Until the other party approached him, they finally spoke up and said, "It seems that the so-called top Ice Emperor in the country is nothing more than that." What do you mean? Xiaoyuan paused and asked with a frown. Sigh. Ishikawa let out a light sigh and said, "I used to think that the Ice Emperor was a place that relied on his strength to speak. But now it seems that it's still the old practice of seniority overwhelming people." After speaking, she shook her head in disappointment. Xiaoyuan clearly recognized the other person's words and asked in a deep voice, "Little ghost, what exactly do you want to say?" Haha. Faced with the pressure, Ishikawa smiled lightly and said calmly, "If I remember correctly, this is the tennis department, right? Shouldn't the problems caused by tennis be solved on the tennis court? Still say it." Speaking of which, a playful smile suddenly appeared on his face. "Senior, are you worried that you won't be able to beat me?" Yu Xiaoyuan's face changed on the spot, and the opponent's words immediately reminded him of the fast serve that seemed like a whirlwind just now, and he instinctively resisted. However, just as he was about to step over the race and forcefully take a shot at Ishikawa, he suddenly felt a cold sensation coming from the crowd around him. Shwa. Xiaoyuan instinctively turned his head and saw a young man with long blue-black hair, glasses, and an expressionless face. Suddenly, his pupils instinctively contracted. Be patient with your feet. A cold sweat slipped down Xiaoyuan's forehead. The main selection is here. And Ninzu is not an ordinary starter, his single strength can definitely rank in the top 3 in the starter. Usually, Renzhou also has a serious and unsmiling appearance. The principle of handling things is also based on the team's rules. Let the other party know that they are dissatisfied with not picking up the ball in first grade and want to teach them a lesson. Xiaoyuan is not at all certain that the other party will stand on his side. At the same time, the strange gazes of the people around him also made Xiaoyuan very clear that he couldn't accept this confrontation. Not answering will be looked down upon by everyone. Accepting or losing will become everyone's laughing stock. Only by winning can this storm be quelled and the adverse effects on him be minimized. Okay. So, Shinawara Mitsuro looked at Ishikawa and sneered, since you're so confident, I'll play with you. So you know the difference between newcomers and seniors. Ding, player triggers mission. First challenge, task description. Defeat Mitsuro Shohara, a third-grade player in the Ice Emperor tennis department, to prove his strength, task reward. 80 experience points, accepted. Yes/no, Ishikawa chose to accept without hesitation. Lift your head. He smiled and said to Xiaoyuan, please give me more guidance, senior. This may sound very respectful to the opponent, but Xiaoyuan saw the annoying smile on their face. Obviously, the guy in front of me is deliberately mocking him. Humph. Xiaoyuan let out a cold snort, then turned around and stepped back. Others couldn't help but shake their heads and laugh at the situation, knowing that Xiaoyuan was really angry this time and gave up the right to serve. Of course, as a senior player, it would be embarrassing to compete with new players for the right to serve. Subsequently, they looked at Ishikawa again. This kid is really too crazy. Yeah, I just joined the department and dared to provoke senior students in third grade. It's too arrogant. If you think you can defeat a third-grade player by serving well, then you're completely wrong. Tennis is not just about serving. Oh. Upon hearing everyone's discussion, the crowd couldn't help but take a second glance at Ishikawa. Is serving good? He came a bit late and didn't see the opponent serve. But from the reactions of these second and third grade players, it seems that this newcomer's serve is quite impressive. After all, getting the recognition of these guys is not an easy task in itself. On the other side, as Ishikawa turned and headed towards the bottom line, he couldn't help but laugh inwardly at the words of the people around him. Strike the stone with an egg. Out of measure. Shouldn't this be part of the new talent guidance task? New book release, seeking collection and recommendation tickets, thank you very much. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Ace Serve. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Ace Serve, are you ready? Outside the stadium, Suzuki Ryota, who volunteered as a referee, looked at the two people below and confirmed their condition before nodding. The game is determined by one set. Ishikawa serves, the game ends. The words fell. Everyone's gaze fell on Ishikawa. Pop. 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 I saw him pick up a tennis ball from the ground and bend down to gently pat it. It looks quite like that. Pretending to be a newcomer, what can a newcomer do? If they're lucky enough to hit a powerful ball, they think they can play the game. Hee, isn't that right? I thought everyone was the minister of the Ministry of Works. I wanted to stand out in first grade, so I've read a lot of hot-blooded comics, haven't I? Almost no one in the surrounding audience is optimistic about Ishikawa. This is not from one's own standpoint, but from within. After all, they have all had at least 1 year of training. physical fitness training, basic tennis training, as well as rules and techniques, and so on. The reason why Subu was able to sweep the Ice Emperor as soon as he returned to China was because his own strength was very strong. As for the newcomer in front of me, having basic training is already impressive, let alone compared to Tobu. Actually, at this moment, Ishikawa on the court, although trying to remain calm as much as possible. But for the first time on the field and in his first actual battle, he inevitably showed unnecessary movements. Is it your first time playing? Seeing Ishikawa's small gesture, I couldn't help but be surprised in my heart. You're really a newborn calf that's not afraid of tigers. How dare the newcomers provoke that guy Xiaoyuan? Mitsuro Shohara. 14 years old. Ice Emperor Junior High School Tennis Department 3rd grade player. Although not a strong player, those who qualify for practice matches in the 200-player Ice Emperor can definitely be considered as main players, or even core players, when placed in teams at other regional tournament levels. And Xiaoyuan still chose Shirzhua Ryo, who is good at fast attacks and is selected by the Ice Emperor, as his imitator. Coupled with his hot temper and being in 3rd grade, many team members are wary of him and unwilling to compete with him. This situation. Renzhua can only think that this first-year newcomer is too reckless. Actually, although the rules of the Ice Emperor are strict, the supervising coach, Kotaro and Minister Kigo Swobe are both insightful individuals. If they truly have talent, they cannot fail to cultivate it. Especially for Tobu, although he hasn't shown it on a regular basis. But Renzhua knew that the other party was very concerned about the issue of successors. It's just a pity. This year's recruitment process has been ongoing until now, and Renzhua has not encountered any talented newcomers. However, if this newcomer can defeat Xiaoyuan, realizing that his ideas were too outrageous, he instinctively shook his head. Who? At this moment, Ishikawa has taken action. I saw him throwing the tennis ball high up. At this height, I raised my eyebrows and thought the opponent was going to jump up and spike the ball. But Ishikawa did not do so. Instead, he adjusted his posture to ensure a stable center of gravity before lifting the racket. But such a delay. The tennis ball has reached its peak and then began to rapidly descend, shaking its head with patience. The movements are too unfamiliar. Listening to the people around him discussing, he originally thought that Ishikawa had practiced serving specifically. But now it seems that the opponent is just a newcomer who has just started playing tennis. The key to serving lies in grasping the details. In addition to controlling the body, it is also necessary to accurately calculate the process of throwing tennis balls. A perfect serve is when the tennis ball reaches its highest point and the racket is held down. This type of serve has the shortest serving time, the highest height, and the greatest effect and power. And now, Ishikawa clearly missed the best opportunity to hit the ball. This kind of low-level mistake would not be made even after practicing tennis for a week. At this moment, I am very disappointed in my heart. The expectation for this game disappeared in an instant. Schwa. Ishikawa, however, did not know how to tolerate the change in mindset. At this moment, he only had tennis balls in mid-air in his eyes. That's right. This is his second serve, but unlike before, he must ensure that the serve accurately lands on the second line in front of the opponent, which is called the inside of the serve line. Therefore, Ishikawa was highly focused, imagining the racket in his hand as a sword. Transforming serving into the process of swinging a long sword. Suddenly, Ishikawa, who has a full level of swordsmanship, has a completely different spirit from before. Accompanied by the movement of his arm, the racket in his hand unexpectedly had a few more remnants. With a bang, the tennis ball in mid-air suddenly disappeared. Then there was a crisp bang on the other side of the field. I didn't wait for everyone to react. With a clang, The tennis ball unexpectedly hit the barbed wire behind Xiaoyuan. Hiss. Suddenly, a burst of inhalation echoed in the crowd. This Shinohara Mitsuro was present on the spot. As a party involved, he has no idea what happened. Looking down at the slowly rolling tennis ball on the ground, his pupils contracted again. What a fast swing speed. Off the court. Ninzu's face also showed a hint of surprise. If this serve is extremely unfamiliar and lacks any highlights in the first half. The second half of the serve is like a top swordsman slash, fast and accurate. Even he didn't see clearly where the hitting point of this serve was. Well, that one. Suzuki Ryota, who was sitting in the referee's seat, made a mistake. He was full of confusion, wanting to make a decision but not knowing where the ball had just landed. Too fast. He didn't even see the referee clearly. Suzuki looked at Xiaoyuan on the field, then at the newcomer across from him, gritted his teeth, and was about to make a serve mistake. All right. But just then, a deep voice sounded. Suzuki instinctively lowered her head and changed her expression. Ninja, you. How did you come? Get down. Taking a cold look at him, Suzuki lowered his head with a guilty expression and quickly moved away from the referee's position. Then, he sat up with patience. He looked at Ishikawa, whose face was calm, and then at Xiaoyuan, whose eyes were tense and uneasy. He said in a deep voice, "The serve is effective, 15.0. Wow. Suddenly, a voice of disbelief echoed in the crowd. It's not that they don't believe in tolerance, it's precisely because they are unconditionally convinced of the other person's judgment that they develop this reaction. Surprisingly within the boundaries. Too fast, right? Have any of you seen the landing point of the tennis ball clearly? Well, this kid just now didn't happen to hit that kind of ball. Ice Emperor's second and third grade team members were all startled by Ishikawa's performance. At this point, they looked at each other with no more contempt. Moreover, with the emergence of tolerance, the last uncertain factor of the referee has also disappeared. Perhaps this game, this first-grade student named Ishikawa, can really win. And on the other side, Ishikawa's face also showed an unexpected expression. He didn't expect to have enough tolerance, but more importantly, it was a reminder from the system in his mind. Players complete a standard serve, activate skill. Basic serve LV0, 0/10, player plays an ace serve, basic serve skill experience +5, interesting. Ishikawa's face showed a smile as he said, "Is this a beginner-guided mission? This game system is quite user-friendly." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Ishikawa's Insight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Ishikawa's Insight. Bang. On the tennis court. A faint yellow light suddenly exploded in front of Mitsuro Shohara, while he stood in place like a sculpture. 30.0 After enduring enough to report the score, he took a deep look at Ishikawa. Are you scoring directly again? Off the court. The spirit of the Ice Emperor team members was shaken. The 2 consecutive ace serve scores cannot be explained by coincidence. This newcomer's serve is really strong. It's even a bit exaggerated. Who would have thought that Mitsuro Shinohara, known for his agile movements, could not even touch a tennis ball? Ding. And on the other side. In Ishikawa's mind, there was a hint of the game playing. Player plays ace serve, basic serve experience +4, is the experience gained not fixed. Ishikawa frowned inwardly, then felt relieved again. Most games are indeed like this, probably due to the settings during program compilation. Fluctuate within a certain range. Ishikawa didn't pay much attention, but shifted his position, adjusted his posture, and threw the tennis ball up again. Bang. 40.0 Ding, player plays ace serve, basic serve experience +5, basic service level increased, current level. LV1, April 20th, buzz. Suddenly, a special stream of information flowed into Ishikawa's mind, and many serving skills that he had never mastered before came to mind. I see. When he opened his eyes again, Ishikawa chuckled at himself. It turns out that his serve just now had so many loopholes. Others may not be able to see it, but the Ice Emperor, who is sitting in the referee's seat, must have caught it. Almost, it's time to end this game too. His gaze fell on Xiaoyuan, and a sharp gleam flashed in Ishikawa's eyes. Who? Subsequently, he threw the tennis ball again. At the same time, standing on tiptoes, stretching out arms, leaning forward, the racket in hand quickly flipped down from the head. Bang! Another explosion. Feeling the howling wind of the ball passing by from his side, Mitsuro Shohara trembled reflexively. Game. Ishikawa, 1.0. Exchange venues. The words fell. The entire stadium suddenly fell silent. For ace serve, one game ends. Even those who had previously believed that Ishikawa might defeat Xiaoyuan did not expect things to develop to this point. First grade plays third grade. The latter can't even touch a tennis ball. Is it an illusion? On the referee's position, Ninja frowned slightly. I don't know if it's his illusion, but he always feels that the last serve of the first-grade student named Ishikawa seems to have improved his level a lot. I think I overthought it. Later, with enough patience, the idea was dispelled. He subconsciously felt that the other person's swing speed was too fast, causing him to feel a bit dizzy. Yes. Even if it's a matter of endurance. Staring intently at the opponent's serve for so long, I also feel a bit tired visually. His swing speed is too fast. If I'm not mistaken, he must have great expertise in swordsmanship. That's all for it. Just make Renzu feel like he's worth it as a referee this time. Although the other party is less than 1.7 meters tall, they are only in first grade. In the next 2 years, the top cafeteria of the Ice Emperor Tennis Department, built by Tobu, will have a conservative height of 1.85 meters. At that time, just by serving, the person in front of them could have a place in the national competition. As the first round ends, Xiaoyuan, who had exchanged positions and obtained the right to serve, clenched his tennis ball tightly. This damn guy. He stared at Ishikawa with a gloomy expression on his face. At this moment, he was filled with both anger and fear in his heart. For ace serve. Even if Xiaoyuan is foolish, he knows that the other party is definitely not an ordinary person. At least before officially breaking the opponent's serve, this person can stand undefeated with this. So, if he wants to win, he has to break a game. Before that, he had to keep his serve. And in this regard, Xiao Principal is full of confidence. Just now, I made you proud for so long. Now it's time for you to see what real tennis is. Thinking so, Xiaoyuan quickly threw the tennis ball up. Bang! Subsequently, he dunked the tennis ball in a very short amount of time. Step on it. Next up, he exerted all his strength and rushed towards the net. Here we go. It's Xiaoyuan's serve and net. This guy is so fierce, his speed is even faster than a month ago. Well, he shouldn't be the ones preparing to challenge the second team, right? Many members of the Ice Emperor team changed their faces when they saw Xiaoyuan walking briskly. Upon hearing their discussion, a subtle smile appeared on Xiaoyuan's face. That's right. I have been in the tennis department for over 2 years, but I am not willing to graduate without even playing the main game. At least participate in a competition before the final of the metropolitan competition. This is the ambition of Shinawara Saburo. He is not expected to be the first choice, but he still has a chance to compete for the reserve second team. For this reason, he began to practice from the end of the 3rd semester of 2nd grade. The goal is to make a splash in the upcoming campus selection competition. I never thought about it. But now I am pushed to this point by a freshman who has just joined the tennis department. To Xiao, he said that using his serve to hit the net was like killing a chicken with an ox knife for Ishikawa. But there's no way. The opponent's serve is too tricky. He had to show his trump card. And on the other side, Ishikawa's gaze was fixed on the rapidly approaching tennis ball. This serve is very fast. But with 3 spiritual dimensions and the bonus of developing the brain domain in the sub-profession, chess path, special talent, Ishikawa has an extraordinary insight ability. Plus, just now, he has been observing the matches between Xiaoyuan and Suzuki, and has looked at the former's pitch and style in various ways. Just one glance. He then identified the landing point of the tennis ball. Subsequently, Ishikawa's gaze fell on Shinawara again. Serve and hit the net. This is a skill that net-forward attacking players are good at. In the original work, Shido and Akutagawa from the Ice Emperor, as well as Ju from the Immovable Peak, are all masters of this art. Ishikawa, who has watched the original anime, knows very well that the most effective way to deal with such players is to hit the tennis ball in the direction of the opponent's progress. It is best to be able to control the position within half a step of it. As for the direction of prediction, Ishikawa, who watched the majority of Xiaoyuan's game, could already guess it completely. The rest is the technique of ball control. Exactly. While obtaining the full-level sub-profession of Kendo, he also improved his skills by 2 points. For top players, a 3-point skill is simply not enough to watch. But this is a practice match. And the opponent is the passerby in the original work, whose name was not even left behind. 3-point technology. To some extent, it already belongs to the dimension reduction strike. Schwa. Many thoughts flashed through Ishikawa's heart. Aiming at Xiaoyuan's forward position, he grabbed the hand of the racket and immediately used top-level swordsmanship skills. With the blessing of 2 points of strength, a fleeting shadow flashed through the rapidly swinging racket. Then, it collided heavily with the bouncing tennis ball on the ground. Bang! A loud bang. Xiaoyuan, who was advancing rapidly, suddenly felt a chill coming. Looking up, he saw a light yellow color quickly magnifying in front of him. This is not good. Tennis comes too quickly. Xiaoyuan didn't have time to react at all. He adjusted hastily because his own speed was too fast and his movements were not smooth enough. Driven by inertia, the whole person completely lost balance and with a thud, fell off and chewed on a dog. Bang! And Ishikawa's counterattack once again collided with the barbed wire. Clack 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 clack. Watching the bouncing tennis balls on the ground, the Ice Emperor players around the court once again quieted down. 0.15 Hold on and finish speaking. With a deep gaze towards Ishikawa. The half volley just now was played too fast, and it was difficult to pinpoint any issues, whether it was the timing of the hit or the placement and angle of the tennis ball. It's difficult for him not to doubt this freshman in first grade. Has the other party been hiding their strength? The author wants to know, is anyone reading this book? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Progress in the competition, enduring Shockwave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Progress in the competition, enduring Shockwave. Ding, players play a draw to activate their skills. Basic draw LV0, 0/10, player scores half volley, basic pumping experience +4, 1 hit score. Ishikawa activated his second basic ball technique. A collective term for hitting a tennis ball after it lands and bounces. Including flat and pull strokes, half volley is an extremely rare type of hitting. Generally speaking, half volleys are usually done in the middle position forward, and there are few bottom-line half volleys. But Ishikawa relied on his full-level swordsmanship skills to make a hard and decisive volley. Of course, One of the reasons is that the opponent is not strong. Damn it. On the other side, Xiaoyuan, who had risen from the ground, looked at Ishikawa, who had turned around calmly, and punched him hard on the ground. It's too embarrassing. He was unexpectedly hit so badly by a newcomer in his best serve and net. Xiaoyuan was extremely embarrassed, but then it turned into strong anger. Come again. Give a low shout. Xiaoyuan threw the tennis ball up again. Bang. Tennis flies out. But he didn't go online again. Firstly, I was afraid of being beaten and worried about repeating the same mistakes as before. Li Xiaoyuan also learned well, knowing that although the other party is a newcomer, they are not just simple characters. Rashly surfing the internet can actually lead to losses. Instead, it's better to adopt a steady approach. Bang. Opposite. Ishikawa swung his racket back and hit the tennis ball towards the direction of Shohara's backhand. The ball is very fast, but Xiaoyuan responded very calmly. Step on it. He ran quickly in the direction of the tennis ball's flight, swinging and hitting the ball just as it landed and bounced. Bang. A crisp sound. He hit the tennis ball over. Moreover, it aimed at the far side of Ishikawa's backhand. Not bad. Seeing this, he nodded to himself with restraint. This guy is not hopelessly foolish, he also knows how to use his strengths while playing steadily. Step on it. On the other side. Ishikawa passively ran towards the landing point of the tennis ball. Unlike his previous stationary hitting, his movement changed his rhythm. Meanwhile, speed is also one of Ishikawa's weaknesses. At least. Compared to the agile and explosive Xiaoyuan, Ishikawa's speed is far from impressive. Bang. Immediately. After Ishikawa returned the ball, Xiaoyuan vigorously pulled the tennis ball in another direction. It is a last resort. Ishikawa can only turn back to catch the ball. Well done. Seeing this, Suzuki Ryota outside the stadium shouted excitedly, this guy Xiaoyuan should have fought like this long ago. Bow from left to right. Guide the opponent to move to both sides. Use your own strengths to completely suppress your opponent. This is the most correct approach when facing off with new students in higher grades. Although the current situation is that Ishikawa has won one game first. But the surrounding Ice Emperor players all believe that as long as Xiaoyuan continued to play like this, the situation of the game could quickly be reversed. Even including Ninzu, they all think so. At this moment, sitting in the referee's seat, Ninja carefully observed Ishikawa's movements and said, running back and forth is a great test of a player's physical fitness. Moreover, repeated actions can further affect the player's mental state, thereby affecting their judgment. If the willpower is weak, it is also normal to give up receiving the ball halfway. Besides, this is still a newcomer. Without competition experience, it is easier to make wrong judgments. But as the situation changed, Renzhua instinctively opened his eyes wide and said, how could he still persist? Bang! 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 On the court. Ishikawa is still being utilized by Xiaoyuan for his speed and explosive advantage, constantly running left and right. His forehead visibly secreted a layer of sweat. And quickly converging into a line, sliding down from the face. Obviously. Under this playing style, his physical fitness is almost unable to keep up. But Xiaoyuan on the other side is not doing much better either. The repeated attacks not only tested Ishikawa's psychological resilience, but also Xiaoyuan's own determination and will. The attack has been delayed without any effect. The opponent's resistance was extremely tenacious. As time went by, Xiaoyuan also felt immense pressure in her heart. From initially full of confidence, gradually becoming restless, and finally starting to worry about whether one's physical fitness can persist. We can't continue like this. Finally. Xiao had lost patience before. Looking at the tennis ball in front of him, as well as Ishikawa standing far to the right, he changed his original pumping motion and placed the racket that extended backwards in front of him, aiming it gently at the tennis ball. Pop. A non-standard cut ball flew out. But in Xiaoyuan's view, this is already enough. From the position where Ishikawa just returned the ball, it is impossible to receive it with his speed. But the next moment, Xiaoyuan's pupils suddenly shrank again. When is he? It's impossible. I saw Ishikawa already running to the middle position. Although his speed was not fast enough, Xiaoyuan's short ball was not up to par. Bang! Finally, Ishikawa arrived before the second landing of the tennis ball and hit it to the side with a flat draw. 0.30. Hold back and report the score. At this point, he has already refuted the previous speculation. The newcomer in front of me, named Shin Ishikawa, is not a master. The opponent's tennis foundation is average, and can even be said to be very poor. But that's not the point. What truly matters to Renzhua is the other person's growth rate. From the beginning, he was mobilized by Xiaoyuan and ran passively left and right. In the later stroke prediction, at least half a step ahead of schedule was made, which to some extent reduced physical exertion. This person's tennis level is almost visibly improving. And my gaze twitched. With a restrained gaze, he fell onto the hitting position of Mitsuro Shohara. There is clearly a dense trail of landing points. His return is very precise and he applied a downward rotation. Yes. This is the truth why Xiaoyuan's physical energy is also consumed so much. On the surface, Ishikawa was driven left and right by Xiaoyuan. But in reality, he deliberately increased the speed of the spin, side spin, when returning the ball. Make the height of the tennis ball lower than usual after landing and bouncing. And this resulted in a subtle knee-bending motion for Shinohara Saburo to retaliate. Seemingly subtle, insignificant. However, in reality, during a prolonged tug-of-war, the burden on Xiaoyuan's knee continued to increase, rapidly accelerating his physical exertion. The dual pressure of physical exertion and psychological stress has become the fundamental reason for crushing Xiaoyuan's inner strength. Finally, make them make incorrect judgments. Ishikawa, be careful. When he looked at the handsome young man again with patience, a faint brilliance appeared in his eyes. Amazing. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it, a newcomer who had never been exposed to tennis. Surprisingly, such a meticulous and interlocking tactical layout can be made. At this moment, Ninzu's heart has already overturned his previous judgment. This newcomer's future growth limit is definitely more than just a serving expert. Even if the other party continues to maintain this pace of progress, the crux that has plagued the Ice Emperor for many years, perhaps it can think of this. Rao, with a calm and patient demeanor, also ignited a flame in his heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Rules of the Ice Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Rules of the Ice Emperor. Bang. Bang. Ice Emperor Tennis Department. One of the stadiums. Xiaoyuan Sanlang, who was tall and straight, was running back and forth on the field with a panicked face. He was supposed to be an experienced player, but now he was frantically beaten. On the contrary. Stand opposite him. The young man with green and handsome black hair appeared very calm. Every seemingly ordinary counterattack from him can force his opponent to run frantically in a state of embarrassment. If it weren't for what one had seen with their own eyes, no one would have believed it. Just over 10 minutes ago, this person had never touched the racket. Too strong. Off the court. Suzuki Ryota, who is also a third-grade member of the Ice Emperor and a friend of Mitsuro Shohara, spoke with a hint of vibrato. A 10-minute game. His friend, Xiaoyuan, who had privately told him to compete for the second team representative, didn't even get a point. Not a round. But I haven't won a single point or a single goal. It's too exaggerated. Around the stadium, those second and third grade Ice Emperor players instinctively opened their mouths. And those newcomers are extremely excited. Who would have thought that this newcomer, who was originally not favored, would completely suppress the senior in third grade? This makes them, who are also newcomers, feel proud. Pop. And at this point, Xiao Yuan, who was forced to run left and right, was dazed and his movements were distorted, causing a deviation in the position of his hitting ball. He had originally hit a high section of his pumping ball. It's over. On the referee's position. As the chosen representative of the Ice Emperor, Ninzu immediately made a judgment in his heart as he watched the leaping figure rise. Bang! Subsequently, as Ishikawa made a beautiful dunk, Ninzu immediately spoke up, "The game is over, Ishikawa Shin wins, the score is 6.0. Step on it." The words fell. Ishikawa, who had completed the kill, also landed steadily on the ground. Ding! Players complete a dunk to activate the basic skills of the game. Players score points through deduction, basic deduction experience +3, player wins a practice match, character experience +15, player completes task. First challenge, gains 80 character experiences, immediately. A series of game prompts echoed in Ishikawa's mind. Not bad. He is very satisfied with this beginner guidance task. Not only did he provide 95 points of experience, but he also mastered 5 basic skills. Basic serving, basic spike, basic pumping, basic cutting, and basic topspin, and gained a lot. Ding! At this moment, Ishikawa's mind once again heard the system prompt sound. Player completes 1 achievement. 0 opponents, skill points +1, 0. The sudden surprise surprised Ishikawa a bit. Puff. But before he could understand the information about the skill points, Xiao Yuan, who was struggling to support him, knelt down on the ground due to exhaustion of energy. In an instant, the entire stadium quieted down. The senior team members no longer have the same arrogance as before. But with tense eyes, he watched the blue and black-haired boy walking down from the referee's position in the game. Mitsuro Shohara. "You know what to do, don't you?" said Xiao Yuan, who was sweating all over and said expressionlessly, "I know." Xiao Yuan's face suddenly turned a little pale. Then, in the confusion of the newcomers and under the complex gaze of other second and third grade team members, this proud third grade team member struggled to stand up before walking to Ishikawa and bowing deeply. "Thank you very much for your guidance." After Xiao Yuan finished speaking, he turned around and walked towards the outskirts of the stadium, standing among a group of new players who looked at each other. This is... Ishikawa was puzzled in his heart. He didn't know what the other party meant by this operation. This is the rule of the Ice Emperor. Seemingly aware of his doubts, he restrained himself and looked around, glancing at the other team members with a serious tone, saying, "Below the weak, above the strong. Since you choose to compete outside of the supervised practice match, you must take responsibility for the result of losing the game." Xiao Yuan lost to Ishikawa, so from now on until the next supervision rearranges the practice match roster, the two will exchange identities. Ishikawa joined the practice group, and Shohara replaced Ishikawa in charge of picking up the ball. Ah! Upon hearing this, the newcomers who had just joined the tennis department all around widened their eyes in surprise. No one expected such a result. At the same time, these people also have a burning passion in their hearts. Imagine the scene where one's status can instantly improve if they eliminate a senior student. But when they saw the indifferent expressions on the faces of the senior students, they all wilted like frosted eggplants. Surprisingly, there are such rules. Ishikawa was also somewhat surprised. Upon careful consideration, he also found it reasonable. Tennis is a competitive sport that prioritizes the strong. The ultimate goal of the tennis department should have been to use a reasonable set of rules to select the strongest players. Of course. People like him are just exceptions. This special situation can only be reflected when encountering true geniuses. Is the rule suitable for geniuses? Ishikawa nodded inwardly and said, there is a reason why Ice Emperor has been able to dominate the Tokyo Metropolitan competition for many consecutive years. Train well, you guys. Before leaving, he said to everyone, especially the newcomers, seize the opportunity to strengthen your foundation, strengthen your physical fitness, and practice swinging. Don't waste the opportunity in the tennis department. At the end, he gave Ishikawa a meaningful glance and left. Be patient and leave. The senior students gathered near the stadium suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. After all, the pressure from being a regular candidate is not easy to bear. Subsequently, these people looked at Ishikawa again, and many showed signs of hesitation, ultimately giving up preaching. They also don't want to be another Xiaoyuan. And the strength demonstrated by this newcomer is already something they cannot underestimate. It is unwise to provoke rashly. And Ishikawa was also happy and relaxed. After playing a game, his physical fitness was actually depleted. After all, his physical fitness is still too poor. Compared to most newcomers of the same age, it is considered good, but compared to third-grade team members, it is not enough. I can't imagine it. What is the level of strength of the selected team members, especially the top experts like Ice Emperor Minister Tobu, who have the best physical fitness among junior high school students? Not to mention, even though he is in the same grade, how strong is Ekizan, who exhausted his physical strength in the original national competition. There is also the super newcomer from 4 Heavenly Treasure Temple, Kentaro Endoyama. Think of these people. Ishikawa glanced at his character panel and suddenly felt a strong sense of urgency in his heart. Glancing at the corner of the tennis lounge, he walked over and prepared to study the character's experience and the next training direction. Schwa. As he walked over, the second and third grade team members automatically gave way and watched him leave with awe in their eyes. Seeing this scene, those newcomers in the same grade immediately looked at Ishikawa with a look of admiration. On my first day joining the Ice Emperor tennis department, it was so fierce. Last time, it seemed like it was the same minister of the trail department, right? Is this also? Hiss. Thinking of that possibility, everyone couldn't help but feel excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Curiosity of the Trace Department. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Curiosity of the Trace Department. Bang. Bang. The farthest court from the entrance of the tennis department. At this point, we are also competing. One of them is Shihu Liang, the chosen candidate of the Ice Emperor who defeated Feng Changtaro before. It's different from the energetic state just now. At this moment, Shihu, like Mitsuro Shohara, was constantly running back and forth in embarrassment under the pressure of his opponent. And being able to push this Ice Emperor to such a high level, the identity of his opponent is also about to be revealed. Bang! With a crisp and sharp diagonal strike, the tennis ball flew out against the baseline, and the referee's voice, Hinata, also sounded. The game is over, Tottori wins, the score is 6-0. Shihu. Looking at the handsome young man with purple-gray hair and a tear stain on the corner of his eyes, Okamoto said, "You've been too relaxed lately. You can't hold on for only 15 minutes. It's really disappointing for me." Trace. The sweaty man looked up, sweat flowing down the corners of his eyes, and the burning pain stimulated his nerves. If it were normal, his temper would have been on fire long ago. But across from him is Okamoto, the Ice Emperor, who was overwhelmed by the entire game and couldn't lift his head. In the 15-minute showdown, Shihu didn't even get a penny. Moreover, he guessed that the other party was likely hiding their strength. Faced with the man who dominated the entire 200 members of the Ice Emperor team, Shirhu couldn't resist at all. At ordinary times, you can bicker and roast. But now, after losing the game 0.6, he doesn't even have the confidence to speak up. Hee. Seeing the disheveled appearance of Shirhu, Hinata, who was in the referee's position, couldn't help but laugh and said, "This guy, he just preached to Nagatoro, and the boomerang hit him so quickly." Shirhu Sr. Outside the stadium, Chong Taro, one of the spectators, let out a faint sigh. But he was not surprised, nor did he question the strength of Shirhu. It's very simple. The opponent is Tobu, a top-notch player with unique strength in the Ice Emperor tennis division. Even on a national scale, the strength of the Ministry of Investigation is sufficient to reach the top level. He can count with just one hand. Let's go. Winning the game, Tobu waved his hand expressionlessly, and the Ice Emperor team members surrounding the field quickly dispersed like guards hearing the king's orders. Subsequently, I saw a tall boy with a square face and a cute expression walking over with a coat to put on for him. "Why, didn't you have all the fun?" At this moment, he walked over and asked with a smile. He is the only one among the Ice Emperor who can speak to Ashikaga like this, apart from supervising Taro. Well, it can be considered. Tobu nodded and glanced at Shirhu, who was resting on the ground in the distance. He said calmly, "Shirhu's level has declined, probably for the past month. He hasn't trained very hard. You can tell." Thinking of the tug on his face during the match between Shirhu and Nagatoro before, he couldn't help but smile and said, "He probably doesn't have much pressure or goal, that's why he doesn't have the motivation to become stronger." Perhaps. "How did the recruitment process this year go?" said Tokumoto with a sneer of nonchalance, as if thinking of something general. Renzwa shook his head and said, "It's similar to what I expected before. Due to your fame, there are many applicants. But so far, I haven't found any talented newcomers." "That's it." Tobu nodded, but his face was noticeably unnatural. Unexpectedly, he persevered and continued, however. "But what?" Swobe quickly asked, and then realized that he had lost some composure. His face quickly narrowed and he said expressionlessly, "Just finish what you have to say, don't make me lose my appetite." "Okay." With a meaningful smile on his face, he said, "I just watched an unusual practice match at Stadium 3. Practice competition." Tobu frowned. The Ice Emperor is not a regular match, he doesn't even have the idea of taking an extra look. For him, it was just a simple waste of time. However, the person in front of me is patient. Among the Ice Emperor, besides Huadi, the only player he can value. Akimoto is very clear that with the other person's personality, he will never shoot aimlessly. With this in mind, a hint of playful smile appeared on Ashikaga's indifferent face. "Tell me, what kind of game is it that can make you, as a genius of the Ice Emperor, watch for more than 10 minutes? A very interesting game." Without paying attention to Tobu's teasing, he persevered and continued, "One of them is third-grade Mitsuro Shohara. Xiaoyuan." Tobu frowned again. No wonder he reacted so strongly, because he had never heard of this name. After all, there are over 200 members of the Ice Emperor team, and even if he is a minister, it is impossible for him to remember everyone's name. A guy like Mitsuro Shohara who didn't even get the qualification to represent the second team as a substitute for the main team, is the only thing that Ashikaga can remember. And this. But it surprised him even more. No matter how you look at it, the matches you endure to watch should only be an ordinary practice match. Wait a minute. As if thinking of something, Tobu raised his eyebrows lightly and said, "Can we say that Xiaoyuan's opponent is in first grade?" Bingo. With a smile on his face, he said, "You're right. That game was between first and third grade." Interesting. Upon hearing this, a smile also appeared on Tobu's face. He thought of himself 2 years ago, when he had just transferred from England to Japan. After arriving at Ice Emperor, he directly challenged the first choice in the tennis department at that time. All the primary candidates, including the minister, were eliminated by him and swept across the tennis department of the Ice Emperor. The other second and third grade team members were too scared to speak at the sight. Only Ninzu, Xiangri, and Shihu dared to take action against him. And the only one who can get a score from him is just enduring it alone. Not right. As if thinking of something, Ashikaga frowned and said, "You just said that this year's newcomers don't have any outstanding talents, which means that this freshman lost. If that's the case, then it's too boring." Chubu admires team members who have courage, but he wouldn't take a second glance at Mangfu who only has courage but lacks strength. No, he won. Seeing Tobu's reaction, the smile on Ninzu's face deepened a bit. 1. Ashikaga's spirit trembled slightly. This is not an ordinary newcomer, after all, they can defeat their seniors in third grade and first grade. This talent can even reach the level of Fong Changtaro in the future. I was the referee for that game. With a smile on his face, he said, "That guy, he killed third grade Shohara Mitsuro 6-0, and it was a 0. As soon as he said this, Tobu's eyes suddenly opened. Even with his calmness, Rao was completely unable to control his emotions at this moment. 0 seal. As the minister of the Ice Emperor and one of the top tennis players in the country, no one in the entire Ice Emperor knows better than Akamoto what this word represents. Because even as a representative of the second team, it is not possible to claim a third-grade member of the Ice Emperor team in the practice match. Moreover, this is just a newcomer. At this moment, in his heart, Tobu suddenly developed a strong curiosity towards the newcomer mentioned by Ninja. New books for collection and recommendation. If you have any opinions or ideas, you can also submit them in the comments section, and the author can answer them at any time. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Continuously upgrading to level 4, Tennis Skill Tree. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Continuously upgrading to level 4, Tennis Skill Tree. Ice Emperor Tennis Department. Ishikawa, who had left the training ground, found a remote corner in the rest area and sat down. After a fierce battle, his physical strength was depleted by 70.88. Thanks to his strong mental strength and firm willpower, he was able to block the attack of Mitsuro Shinawara. Otherwise, once the defense line is broken by the opponent, the game is another outcome. Others may not know, but Ishikawa knows it in his own heart. At the end of the day, he is still a beginner in tennis, able to keep his opponents clean, thanks entirely to the support of 5-dimensional data in terms of mental and technical aspects, as well as the effect bonus of full-level Kendo. He still has a long way to go before becoming a true expert. Let's take a look at the results of this competition first. After reflecting on the gains and losses of the game, he began to examine the benefits of his own performance. Basic strike. LV2, 37/50ths, basic serve. LV2, 1850, basic rotation. LV1, 9/20ths, basic lateral rotation. LV1, 6/20ths, basic deduction. LV0, 3 out of 10, a fierce battle activated 5 basic football skills. Except for the minimum required dunks, the other 4 skills have all improved. Serving and pumping are 2 consecutive levels of promotion. This is also normal. Just now, Ishikawa was forced to run back and forth by Xiaoyuan, and each time he could only use a flat return. The most significant improvement is in continuous batting and pumping. Subsequently, Ishikawa's mind moved and he clicked on the exclamation mark next to the word ball skills. Suddenly, the shadows of 5 trees appeared within his field of vision. Is this a skill tree? 5 trees, all divided into 3 areas. Upper, middle, and lower. Each area has branches and branches that extend out. Among them, The skill tree trunk representing basic pumping and basic serving has filled 2/3 of the bottom area with light bars, while the bottom layer of topspin and sidespin is only 1/3. As for the skill tree of slaying, only a faint light appeared. From this perspective, basic skills represent the backbone of ball skills. Only when basic skills reach a certain level can advanced ball skills be developed. This also aligns with his understanding of the original work. However, from the overall perspective of the skill tree, only the top of the skill tree has advanced skills extended from the bottom layer. That is to say, improving one's basic skills to level 3 is necessary to develop other advanced skills. Forget it, it's useless to think too much now. Ishikawa shook his head and his mood quickly calmed down. For him, advanced football skills are not something to consider now. The first thing to do is to strengthen one's own foundation, improve physical fitness and character level. Think of this. He exited the skill tree interface and focused on the character's current accumulated experience points. With 15 points of experience gained from winning the competition and 80 points of experience gained from completing tasks, he now has a total of 90 points of experience reserves. And the character's level has been raised from 0 to 1, currently only requiring 10 points of experience. I didn't even think about it. Ishikawa took 10 points from the experience pool and added them to the character's head. Ding, player level increases, gains skill points x3, skill points. Can be used to improve the level of basic and advanced ball skills, directly leveling up. Ishikawa's eyes lit up. Adding to the previous competition, where he achieved a reward of 1 point for his achievement when he was awarded a 0 bonus to Mitsuro Shohara, he now has 4 skill points. No hesitation. He immediately attempted to focus both skill points on basic strikes. Ding, basic pumping level increased, current level. LV3, 0/100, ding, the player's operation is invalid. Please refer to the system instructions for specific details. Ishikawa frowned. He looked at his skill points and surprisingly, there were still 3 points left. Only after reviewing the detailed usage rules of skill points can we understand the reason. The experience and skill points required for different stages of skills, including ball skills and special abilities, are different. Primary stage, level 1.3. Consumes 1 skill point per level up. Intermediate stage, 4.6 levels. Consumes 3 skill points per level 1. Advanced stage, 7.9 levels. Consumes 6 skill points per level 1, what a loss. After reading the instructions of the game system clearly, Ishikawa felt a wave of regret in his heart. His basic strikes only require 13 experience points to level up, and now he has wasted 1 skill point. Think of this. He did not immediately use skill points, but instead stored them for use at level 2 to break through level 3, or when there was a need to upgrade experience points that were too high, even in critical situations. At this point, he still has 85 character experiences and 3 skill points left. And upgrading a character from level 1 to level 2 requires 20 points of experience. After consideration, Ishikawa chose to first upgrade the character level. Ding, player character level increased, current level. LV2, ding, player character level increased, current level. LV3, ding, player character level increased, current level. LV4, at this time, Ishikawa has a total of 12 skill points, as he continues to level 4 in one breath and adds the remaining skill points. But he didn't easily misuse it. According to the experience requirements for upgrading basic skills, it is not difficult to upgrade from level 0 to level 1 and from level 1 to level 2. Today is the first day of the Ice Emperor's school year. From the original work, there is still some time before the school selection competition. He still has time to strengthen his basic abilities. As for character upgrades, the 5-dimensional attributes did not follow suit, and it is not surprising for Ishikawa. The 5 dimensions are a very important numerical representation of abilities in the original work. Every improvement of 1 point is a huge progress. Ishikawa didn't expect it either, as his level increased by 5 dimensions. Moreover, it's still early and he has enough confidence to make up for his shortcomings in a short period of time. So, it's time to train. Glancing at the team members practicing swing not far away, Ishikawa stood up and joined their ranks. 1, 2, 3, the corner of the training team. Ishikawa posed well and, like everyone else, repeated the swing training over and over again. 3 minutes later. Some newcomers can't hold on and stop to rest. 5 minutes later. Half of the newcomers also stopped. 10 minutes later. Only a small portion of people are still persevering. Half an hour later. The entire swing training area is left with only Ishikawa, who is still persistently swinging. Daida. Daida. Sweat kept falling from his forehead, and his clothes gradually got wet, but Ishikawa's expression remained unchanged. Still looking steadfastly ahead. So strong. Is he really a newcomer like us? So it seems that he really defeated that 3rd grade senior with his hard power just now, and I am truly convinced. No, who is this? Is it very powerful? You didn't watch the game just now, it was this Ishikawa who beat a 3rd grade senior 6.0. 6.0, is it really fake? Is this too exaggerated? The newcomers around whispered. They used to think that Ishikawa might have won by chance. But now, the other party's persistence and will have truly shaken them. These newcomers have all been convinced from the bottom of their hearts. Is he the one who defeated senior Xiaoyuan, Shin Ishikawa? Not far away. A tall and straight young man with gray hair looked over curiously. It's none other than Feng Changtaro, who is one of the main choices of the Ice Emperor and the owner of the heavy cannon serve, one shot into the soul. It looks like he's less than 1.7 meters tall, right? Looking at Ishikawa, Nagataro's curiosity grew stronger in his eyes. Surprisingly, he was able to hit 12 ace serve with 0 mistakes in a game. Even him. The error rate of a single shot is also over 75%, and there may even be cases of double shot errors. And this person? It is said to be just the 1st grade of a new tennis player. Surprisingly, all 12 serve were successful with 1 serve, and all of them were ace serves that scored directly. Changtaro is very curious. How does Shin Ishikawa, a first-year student, understand serving? End of this chapter.